Okay, so a few people have been asking me, what has made you go for the market of the unbanked in the world? And it's really an interesting question, because I think everybody focuses and thinks about the surroundings that they have themselves. So when they start thinking about spending cryptocurrency, they think about how they would want to spend a cryptocurrency. Now, we looked at that market, of course, goes without saying. But in terms of trying to make cryptocurrency a mass adopted thing, in terms of trying to make us into the thing that we are saying, mass adoption, huge user numbers, trying to convert someone out of a habit is very difficult. So we've all got Visa cards in our pockets, we have MasterCard, we have Apple Pay, we've got dozens of different ways of paying for something digitally. So for me to try and convince someone who has all those options of a new option is actually quite difficult. We've got to try and break someone's habit. Now, it's much better, in my opinion, that we go for a market that has no digital payment method available to them, and thus there's no habit to break. Now, what we have there is a slightly different challenge, of course, is we've got to try and convince these people to use something that they've never, ever had before. But what you've got to remember is that once we unlock this, they then have that huge explosion of ideas, entrepreneurialism, and access to things that have been closed off to them up to that point. So not only is it an easier market perhaps to get into than the West, but also I think a much, much more exciting market too. Okay, so we went for the unbanked as a market for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is the vast size of the market. If you're going to go into a market, if you find a market that is literally untapped, so there is virtually no digital payment method for the unbanked of the world, by the very nature of it, they struggle with getting their money into digital terms. So we found a market that's huge. 1.7 billion people are unbanked. Now, we can't get to all of those, unfortunately, at the moment, because they don't all have access to a smartphone. But a surprising number do. There are 350 million of them that have a smartphone. Now, there are two sides to this equation, and there is the West as well, which we'll talk about perhaps in another video, because we want people to be able to transfer everywhere in the world with Electroneum. So it's not just the unbanked we're aiming for, but the unbanked will unlock this massive, massive market for us. And they're a huge market unto themselves. The great thing about the market of the unbanked, obviously it's great for us. We've got a huge swathe of people that we can enable with Electroneum. So we've coined this phrase, the enablement currency, because we're genuinely going to enable them to get access to an economy they've never had access to before. But remember, we're also unlocking the rest of the world getting access to them. And this is something that's not just interesting to us, it's interesting to corporates and some of the most powerful people. So for instance, Christine Lagarde, I can't remember the exact quote, but she said that whilst she wasn't a big fan of some of the things that are happening in cryptocurrencies, she did like the fact that they would become the enablers. They would enable the inclusion of the lowest sectors of society in terms of poverty, and to include the unbanked. So she specifically used the word unbanked in her quote, and she's the head of the IMF. So I think it's really important to see that as a product, we are going after a sector of the market that can really make a difference in the world, as well as being just a good focused business thing to do. Okay, so we developed this thing called the mobile miner. Now, just to give you a little bit of an overview of what the mobile miner is, it's not true miner. So in cryptocurrencies, you have these things called miners. Now, you might have heard of Bitcoin miners. These are people that run a computer, and that computer is helping to run the ledger that is a distributed ledger. This is the basically, it's like a sort of a database, I suppose, of all of the transactions that are on the blockchain. So basically these miners are super critical to any blockchain project. Now, as a cryptocurrency, we have those miners on our network, but we wanted to give everyday people with a mobile phone in their pocket access to some cryptocurrency in the same way that these very technical people with expensive equipment have got access to cryptocurrency. So we coined the term mobile miner. What we've actually done is we've taken a chunk of the coins out of our blockchain that normally get emitted to the conventional miners, and we've ring-fenced those, and we're emitting those to mobile miners. Now, these are people that are basically running our app. So effectively, we are just rewarding people for being involved in the Electroneum project. Now, you might say, why would we do that? But if you think about it, how do you convince someone to use something? So you may or may not, if you're a homeowner, have had a free sample of something dropped through the door. So if you imagine some washing powder drops through the door. Now that company wants to sell you washing powder. They don't want you to have free washing powder. They want you to buy washing powder. But they've thought that actually if we drop some through the door, you're going to try it. And if you try it, you might go, you know what, my old washing powder is rubbish. This new washing powder is super awesome, and I'm going to buy some. Now, with washing powder, there's loads and loads and loads of choice. With the unbanked and digital payment methods, there aren't that many choices, but convincing them to try something is, relatively difficult. So what have we done? We've started giving them something that has a monetary value for nothing, just for getting involved in the project. And by doing that, we've already shown that we've had great viral success. We've got 1.7 million users already, and we haven't actually released the full product yet. So we are using it as a tool to get viral growth. And that viral growth and those huge user numbers will come on because people are talking about it, people have tested it. At the moment, they can't even spend it on their mobile phone bill yet because we haven't integrated. But after September, when our API comes out and we've got full integration into being able to pay for your mobile phone, imagine the growth that we'll get then. So that's the reason that we're giving this ETN away to mobile miners or to people with mobile phones, is to encourage market growth and to encourage adoption of this digital payment technique that is Electroneum ETN. Okay, so we've talked about how the unbanked could get some free ETN, so they can put the app on their phone and they can mine on the mobile miner some free ETN. But that's probably not enough for them to do a great deal with, a couple of dollars, few dollars a month perhaps. Now, from a business plan perspective, we're not a charity. We're not trying to just give this stuff away to be spent on their mobile phone bill. We might as well just give the money straight to the mobile phone company and be done with it. The concept is that we want to create some velocity of money. We want some money flow. Now, that's okay, but how do these people get it? Remember, they're unbanked, so they can't go to an exchange and buy some Bitcoin and transfer it and buy ETN. They can't do it because they haven't got a bank account. So we need some way for these people to get more Electroneum. Now, the instant and obvious way is that entrepreneurialism springs up, and if you've got 500 people earning some mobile mining funds, there's nothing to stop you having a little entrepreneurial business that starts scooping that up by providing some services to these people. But again, that's still coming straight from us. So what we had to think about is, how do we get the broader economy to be involved? And the way we've done that is we have a website coming out that's very similar to Fiverr. If you haven't seen it already, it's fiverr.com. Go and have a look at it. It's part of what's called the gig economy. Now, the gig economy is people doing some sort of digital skill for a very small amount of money. It's taken off hugely, and lots of people, tens of millions of gigs are bought and sold. And what this enables people to do is, in one part of the world, they're able to buy a gig, a small amount of digital work, from somebody else somewhere in the world. Now, at the moment, it's run entirely, almost exclusively through PayPal, but of course you need to have a bank account for that. So what we're doing is we're bringing out a gig site that enables people in the unbanked world to sell their newfound digital skills to the West. Now, what do the West want? The West want cheap digital skills, which is why they're outsourcing to India and places like that already. But of course, what they're doing is they're outsourcing to the part of that society that has bank accounts. This enables them to outsource to a different part of society that don't have bank accounts, and thus the digital skills are likely to be even cheaper. So the West have a massive reason to buy ETN, which they're capable of doing, and send it to the unbanked. The unbanked have got a massive incentive to learn digital skills, to get access to part of an economy that's never been accessed before. So that is what the gig economy is, and how we're going to empower these people to earn extra ETN, which then enables them to do things like pay for their phone bill with a digital transfer, something that they've never done before. Okay, so I just mentioned something called money velocity, and I'm certainly not an economic expert, so do your own Googling on this, but something that cryptocurrencies lack that real tangible fiat money doesn't lack is velocity of money. Now, what I mean by this is, if you have a dollar bill, if you pay it to somebody, they are not likely to go and pay it into the bank and then someone else draw it out from the bank and make use of it, and then that person pays it to the bank. What's likely to happen is that dollar bill will travel around society. So one person takes the dollar bill and they spend it on their lunch. That person takes it as a tip, for instance, and goes home. Now on the way home they buy something, and that shop takes it. Now the shop gives it out as change. Somebody else has it. This money moves around society. Now if you look at cryptocurrencies, that is not happening currently. There are, well, I would argue that there isn't a cryptocurrency in the world that has that effect right now. And that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve a cryptocurrency that actually does exactly what a dollar bill does. So one person earns some ETN, but they don't go straight to an exchange and cash it back into fiat. They hold it and they now make use of it in another transaction to someone else for some other service or goods. And that person then spends it to somebody else or to another business for goods or services. And that person uses their supply chain to spend it. So if we can get velocity of money taking place within cryptocurrency, once again, we will have achieved a really huge and substantial leap from where cryptocurrencies are right now. And it's most certainly on our target list. Okay, so if we've got velocity of money, how do we make our system, how do we make Electroneum action that where everybody else has failed to make that work? So if you look at the likes of Bitcoin or Ethereum, there's a great deal of time between you sending the cryptocurrency and the cryptocurrency arriving. Now there are good technical reasons for that, and that's because these node owners, the miners that run the whole system, have to have consensus. They have to agree that the transaction is real. There's all sorts of technical stuff going on in the background. But from the user's point of view, they don't care about any of that. They just want the money to go from one place to another. Now what we've done, we're already running a hybrid system. We've got an app, and by the nature of the beast, all apps have to be run by a central authority. So we are that central authority. But because we're a central authority, it gives us the ability to do something that nobody else is doing. So we're a mobile cryptocurrency. What that means is that we sit in the middle of the transaction. We can see that one person over here wants to pay a person over here, and we're in the middle of the transaction. We don't take the cryptocurrency, it doesn't arrive with us first, but we can see that cryptocurrency transaction is about to take place or is taking place. So when the person says, I'm going to send the money to this online store, for instance, instead of it taking 20 minutes to arrive on the blockchain, what happens is we see the transaction going past and we say, hey, that money is on the way. And then we ring fence it in this person's wallet. So even though the money hasn't yet got to the blockchain, this person can't spend it twice. And this person knows absolutely that the money is on the way. They trust us to know it's on the way. This is not dissimilar to Visa. When you walk into a shop and tap your Visa card or insert your Visa card and spend Visa, the shop doesn't get the transaction instantly. They haven't got the money in their bank account instantly, but Visa are the ones who've said, you know what, it's on the way. Now, we're not a bank, and we're not operating as a bank, but we are operating as a notification system that the money's on the way, and we're a trusted notification system. And we've patented this process because fundamentally no one else was doing it. Now, all of that sounds like technical nonsense, but what does it mean? It means instant transfers. That's what it means. Someone can spend from their mobile phone instantly. They can go to an e-commerce site, they can check out, and they can go about their day. They can walk up to a till, they can scan a QR code, they can walk out with their cup of coffee or their bottle of water. They can buy things instantly with cryptocurrency. And that's never happened before. And because we've got instantaneous transfers, that means you're far more likely to get this velocity of money. One person can spend it easily to the next, to the next, to the next. And because of that, we believe that we've unlocked something really, really exciting. And that comes out, the instant payment system comes out in September. So we're excited to get it out there in the live environment.